Tonight, a mother exonerated after spending years in prison for killing her own daughter.
It went really well today, and I'm really happy for it.
The evidence at her retrial that led to her acquittal. Now free after years behind bars, the message she shared today for her late daughter.
Obviously, this place has fallen through the cracks.
Plus, civic leaders search for solutions after a man died in a fire at an unlicensed rooming house. The heartwarming condolences from the victim's friends and co-workers.
And I just love the legacy that I was able to create here.
And off-court tearjerker, Pascal Siakam's love letter to Toronto, how the now former Raptor plans to continue his charitable work in our city. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. We begin with a Toronto mother feeling vindicated tonight. Cindy Ali was found guilty of first-degree murder in 2016 for killing her own daughter. Today, she tasted freedom for the first time, acquitted in a retrial. Tyler Cheese explains why in our top story tonight.
After today, it's going to be our time as a family to start healing and grieving.
7 years ago, a jury found Cindy Ali guilty of murdering her daughter, Sanara. Ali appealed that decision in 2016, and today a judge acquitted her.
I was hopeful. I had a good lawyer. Good lawyers, I should say. But you never know how it's going to go, but it went really well today, and I'm really happy for it.
Sanara, who was 16 at the time of her death in February 2011, had cerebral palsy and was unable to walk, talk, or feed herself. During the retrial, the Crown alleged Ali committed a mercy killing by smothering her daughter after she suffered a series of seizures. But Ali says Sanara died during an armed home invasion. In her decision, Justice Jane Kelly said neither scenario could be ruled out, so Ali's guilt cannot be proven without reasonable doubt.
The fact that it took 13 years is very unfortunate. The fact she was charged in the first place is very unfortunate in my view. But, justice delayed is not always justice denied. This was justice delayed, but justice finally got there at the end.
Ali's supporters broke out in cheers and applause as the judge handed down the decision this morning. Ali and Sanara's story was previously covered in a documentary released last year.
This morning was really emotional, as you can imagine. The courtroom was full. It was full of Cindy's family. It was full of Cindy's church community who have been behind her since day one.
The film's director says she's also relieved to see today's outcome.
I thought this is a story that needs a closer look. This is something that needs a more thoughtful approach. And so I started to spend time reading thousands of pages of transcripts and looking over evidence. And I thought something's wrong here.
At the courthouse, Ali thanked her family, community, and legal team for their support throughout the process. Now she says she'll focus on her family's future.
But not forgetting Sanara, because she's still here with me. She will always be with me.
Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Next to a scary scene that played out today at a school in the city's West End, a student was slashed after a fight inside Humberside Collegiate around the lunch hour.
Further investigation revealed the identity of the suspect that was involved in this altercation, who was then taken into custody without incident a short time later.
CBC Toronto obtained cell phone video of the aftermath of the slashing. The victim is a teenaged boy who attends the school near High Park. He is expected to recover. Investigators believe the 16-year-old suspect is also a student at the school, and police would like to hear from any witnesses or students who have information or video of the incident. Back to that rooming house fire on Coxwell we told you about yesterday. Tonight we're learning more about the man who died in the blaze as the city confirms it was an unlicensed rooming house. Now some leaders in our community are vowing to take action. Talia.
The destruction isn't obvious from the outside of this home, but yesterday crews were called to this address on Coxwell Avenue and immediately went inside for a search and rescue. The man they pulled from a unit on the upper floor was pronounced dead at the scene. He has been identified as William Kasha. In a statement, Dixon Hall said it is with profound sadness and a heavy heart that we share the heartbreaking news of the passing of our respected colleague, William Kasha. William had dedicated his life to assisting those who were in need and was an anchor at many of Dixon Hall's programs. Toronto's fire chief said 7 people lived in the house, and the other tenants indicated that it did not have working smoke alarms. The city confirmed the home was not licensed as a multi-tenant house. The area's councillor says there should be more efforts on the city's end to find these illegal rooming homes.
I'm very happy with the licensing regime that we've had for many years in the old city of Toronto, but obviously this place has fallen through the cracks and there might be more out there. So I will be asking our city staff to look for clues that you may have a multi-tenanted dwelling.
These unregulated units are much higher risk, but they're all that some people can afford. And these are people with jobs providing essential services. They're still having to share a house with 6 or 7 other strangers.
The city says a new regulatory framework for multi-tenant houses will come into effect on March 31st. Adding the new bylaw will introduce consistent standards, regulatory oversight, and effective enforcement to protect the safety of tenants and respond to neighborhood concerns. This property behind me is just around the corner from yesterday's fatal fire. It was here that 4 people died after a fire tore through their home 3 years ago. Officials at the time determined there were no working smoke alarms.
Our statistics tell us that by having a working smoke alarm on every level of your home, including your basement, will cut the chances of you dying in a residential fire by 50%.
In a statement today, Toronto Fire Services says it's continuing to work with police and the Ontario Fire Marshal to investigate the cause of Thursday's fire.
Our data shows us that in the last 5 years, in 58% of the fires that we actually had in the city of Toronto, there were no working smoke alarms.
Cascio was described as kind-hearted, supportive, and well-loved. His colleagues at Dixon Hall say he will be missed. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Parents of children at a Toronto daycare are begging the owners to push back the closing date so they have more time to arrange care for their kids.
I've been scrambling, calling all the daycares in the area, trying to find out where she could have a spot.
One of us would either have to leave the workforce or we have to leave the city.
All right, so here's the deal. As of August 1st, the Carmelite Day Nursery is set to be closed. The daycare near Dundas and Ossington currently cares for about 175 kids, and it's been operated by nuns for more than 40 years, but they want to retire. Parents say other child care centers in the area have long waiting lists of 18 to 24 months, so they're asking the nuns for more time. There's no word on if that's being considered, but the city says it's working to come up with a contingency plan for all these families. And just like that, the bone-chilling cold is back tonight, minus 22 with the wind right now. But Victor, you are smiling, and I know why.
Finally, we're going to get a break from all of that cold weather, as we do have that large Arctic air mass which has been hanging over us for it seems like longer than a week. Now, tonight is going to be a night where it's going to feel like minus 22, but we're looking forward to a bit of a snowfall by the time we reach Tuesday, around 10 centimeters. And then we get a return of the mild temperatures. Speaking of temperatures, minus 2.3 is your average high, minus 10.8 is your average low, and this is that high pressure system that's coming our way on Sunday, and this is what's going to be bringing us that sunshine. Now, as mentioned, there is some areas which will be receiving some snowfall. Sarnia, for example, will be receiving a lot more snow than we will be, especially over the next coming hours. But quick look at our 3-day forecast. We're expecting some cloudy skies on Saturday. It's going to feel like minus 17, but eventually we get a break from all of that cold weather because it's going to be feeling like minus 6 on Sunday, and Monday's going to feel like minus 3. Stay tuned to Chris and I for the rest of your 3- and 7-day forecast.
Thanks, Victor. All right, so the warmer temperatures, something to smile about. Pascal Siakam's love letter to Toronto is another thing you could smile about tonight. This week, we learned the all-star forward was being traded from the Raptors to the Indiana Pacers. And today, Siakam released a tribute video to the fandom. And he's not done with our city just yet. Dale Manukduk has the emotional reaction.
It will always be Toronto's home, and I just love the legacy that I was able to create here.
In an emotional farewell video, Pascal Siakam journeyed through his career as a Toronto Raptor, starting in 2016.
The Toronto Raptors select Pascal Siakam from Douala, Cameroon, and New Mexico State University.
In my head, it was like difficult to just think about the idea of leaving. And that's no disrespect. It's just like I just never thought about it. It never crossed my mind because I thought I'd be a Raptor forever.
He struck a similar tone in a piece for the Players Tribune titled
Toronto Forever by Pascal Siakam.
Words written by the Raptor legend, read by his fans.
Toronto is just all I've known and all I've wanted to know.
Maybe this sounds naive, but I felt I could be one of those dudes who spends his whole career on one team. That's insane. Being a Toronto fan, you know, he won a championship with us, so it does mean a lot.
Toronto made me feel like I belonged from day one. I loved the diversity. I would go out and I would see Cameroonians,
Ghanaians, Mexicans, Koreans, Jamaicans, Europeans, just all types of people from all types of communities.
It made me feel comfortable. It was like, okay, if so many people somewhere are foreign, maybe you're not feeling as foreign.
His message striking a chord with the people who embraced him and know what he's talking about.
That's what Toronto is really all about. It's all about diversity.
He goes on to write about the 2019 NBA championship.
Like it was at this moment that changed people's lives. Players, fans, all of us.
Maybe that's a lot for some basketball games. I don't know. But if you were there, then you would get what I'm talking about.
The moment they won, we drove down. I mean, number one, we knew like the streets were packed, but we wanted to see the actions live.
That was a heartfelt message by one of the greatest Raptors to ever play on the Raptors. And we appreciate everything Pascal did for the team.
Siakam didn't just do things for the team, he did things for the community through his PS43 Foundation, which focuses on making a difference in children's lives. Although he's with a new team, he says that work here in Toronto will continue. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Returning now with a big return for Toronto. UFC is back in town after 5 years, and the local mixed martial arts scene has a lot to celebrate. There are 9 Canadian athletes on the card, many from right here in the GTA. And our fight fanatic Ali Chiasson caught up with some of the rising talent as they prepare for the Octagon.
UFC is back in the city, and if you haven't been paying attention since this guy was King of the North, then you've got some catching up to do. Allow me. Starting with coming off of his UFC debut in Vancouver last June, proper Mike Malott will be looking for another fast finish, this time against welterweight veteran Neil Magny. What would make this next victory even sweeter?
Being able to represent my country on the world stage at home. That's been a dream of mine since I was a little kid pumping my legs on swing sets.
That dream comes true tomorrow for Burlington's own Malott.
Have you imagined what that's going to be like?
Some people you see get under those bright lights and they get jittery and they're like killers in the gym and they freeze into that moment, right? So I feel like it's like fire. You can let it burn you, or you can use it to help you, right? Like this is something I've done again and again as far as using pressure to perform to my fullest potential.
Also hailing from Burlington, Siri City is making his official Octagon debut, a rematch since earning his contract on the Dana White Contender Series in September in what was largely seen as an early stoppage.
I know the mistakes I made in that fight. That fight was quick. I finished him quickly, but I think this one's going to be even sweeter.
Sweeter still is how inspiring it will be for young fighters to witness 9 Canadian athletes compete on the sport's biggest stage.
I'm a coach at a gym in Burlington as well, so like I've been coaching these guys for like a lot of years now, and just to see them like watch me do it and like actually understand that it's possible, and just kind of like, you know, show the community that, you know, we can get high level MMA here in Canada is a big thing for me.
I think the legacy that people like Rory McDonald and GSP and Felicia Spencer have left over the years has made like an indelible impact on aspiring MMA athletes. They know that there's a pathway to excellence in Canada. Mike is a great example. Surrey City is a great example. We've got, you know, guys like Charles Jourdain and Marc-Andre Barriault who've been around for a while but seem to be in a sense in their careers.
They would humbly agree.
Like I have a 6-5 record, like off the chart. It's not appealing to see that, but you can see that I'm growing every fight,
and I know myself more than ever. So yeah, I'm excited.
Talk about excited. Winnipeg's Brad Katona is back after winning the Ultimate Fighter for a second time.
The first time I did the Ultimate Fighter, my first fight was UFC Toronto. It was UFC 231.
And now this time I just came from the finale again, and my first fight's in UFC Toronto. So completely full circle.
For many, UFC 297 is a homecoming. For the others, Torontonians are doing their best to make them feel at home.
Never been to Canada. And I get here and I love it. In South Africa, that's something you never hear, snow on the beach.
An experience of which middleweight championship contender Dricus du Plessis is still fine.
How about that dip in the lake?
That was not so cool. I'm like, how long does it take to get frostbite? Am I going to die now? I have a fight. I can't get frostbite right now.
Taking the belt from Sean Strickland could probably help with that.
I think we're in for absolute fireworks. It's going to be an incredible night.
For Canadian MMA, just like Mike Malott called it in Vancouver.
This show is for us. This was a Canadian show. This was Canadian MMA coming back strong, baby.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
A good weekend to stay indoors and watch the fight or whatever you're into. And then warmer temperatures are on tap for next week. Victor Paolo now with the full weather picture.
Taking a look at the map of North America here, we'd just like to point out, you can see that Arctic air mass, which we were speaking about earlier, and looking at how far and wide it goes. Now, where we're located right here in the GTA, you can still see we are in the thick of it. Blue, just like my suit and shirt. But another thing to note when we do take a look at what we're expecting for tonight, well, the temperatures will still be cold. Minus 14, feeling like minus 22, and it will be cloudy, as you do see behind me. Now, taking a closer look at some weather systems and how it's going to be changing between now and Friday, between now and Sunday. Well, here's that high pressure system, and here's it working its way through to where we are, right here in the GTA. To take a step to the side here. Now, that high pressure system is going to be the reason why we're going to be able to see and feel that sun. Now, some areas will be getting some snow compared to us. We'll be getting not that much, if any at all. Sarnia, for example, as you do see here, they're going to be experiencing a little bit of more snowfall than we are. Well, quite a significant amount of snowfall compared to we are. Then areas southwestern of Toronto in the southwest direction will be also receiving more snow than we have. But the one thing to note, by the time we reach Sunday, Sunday's going to be a day where the temperatures finally start to increase, which is great news. Other thing about Sunday, which you can look forward to, is it's going to be a time where we get to see all of that sun. I'm a big sun fan, so I know I keep going back to that. But looking at our 3 and 7 day forecast, one thing to note, looking at Saturday, it's going to be cloudy, feeling like minus 17. It's going to be a cold Saturday. But when it comes to Sunday, it's going to be the return of that sun, as you do see, feeling like minus 6. And when it comes to Monday, it's going to be cloudy, but feeling like minus 3. But let's take a look at the rest of the weekend. What else is coming our way? Looking at Tuesday, snowstorm, Wednesday, Thursday, the warm weather, feeling like 2 degrees and feeling like 4. And by the time we reach Friday, it's that classic Toronto mix of snow, ice pellets, and rain. Have a great weekend, Toronto. And over to you, Chris.
You have a great weekend, too. Thanks, Victor.
Send your pup here. Will she come to me?
Take a look at this incredible body cam footage from Michigan showing how a crafty police officer and a loyal dog teamed up to save a man who had fallen through the ice. Ruby was standing vigil beside her owner when the officer arrived, and she runs to him when called. And the officer ties a rescue disc tethered to a rope onto her collar. Her owner then calls her back, and he's able to grab onto the disc and pull himself to safety. Just incredible. Go Ruby. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, indulge us for a moment as we celebrate a fellow colleague here at CBC Toronto. Tonight, the Tamil Canadian Centre for Civic Action held an event celebrating young leaders in the community called 30 Under 30. And our own friend and co-worker Kirthana Sasitheran was among those recognized.
I understand the weight of my responsibility as a Tamil journalist, as a representative of the community, but also as a person whose opinion is valued. People come to me with pitches, people come to me with stories, and I understand the role that I play in their lives as a representative for them. So it means a lot to me to be recognized in that role.
You may recognize Kirthana from her work aired right here on this newscast. The 30 Under 30 Award celebrates young leaders in the Tamil community who are constantly working towards change, innovation, and creativity. And Toronto's Tamil community has even more to be proud of tonight. One of the first openly queer Tamil comedians to tour globally is on stage tonight in front of one of his biggest audiences yet. Scarborough's Sundar V has been selling out shows around the world, but tonight the funny man is laughing along with a hometown crowd. And Our Toronto's Shannon Martin got a backstage chat with him about his rise in comedy.
I'd done like emceeing, wedding emceeing, and public speaking and things like that. And comedy wasn't something that I ever thought I could do because it involves being authentic on stage and being your whole self. And hiding a big part of me for a lot of that for over 30 years, I didn't think I could do that on stage because I'd have to play somebody I wasn't. Right. And I didn't want to do that. So to be authentic, I wanted to be able to talk about what it feels like to be queer, what it feels like to be queer in Scarborough, what it feels like to be queer in Thummel, and all of those things. And so comedy started as a way for me to show the community what my life was like, tell the story, my life stories to them in a way that is funny, but also kind of like gives them a takeaway of like, wait, he's just like us, he's gone through this, he's lived through this, and he has this extra thing or extra challenge that maybe we could help other people who are growing up this way, whether there's their kids, whether there's their community members, you know, and there's this whole Western perspective of coming out is the only way, right. And that everybody has to be out or you can't live a fulfilling life, or that only the people who are out are queer. Queerness exists around us wherever we go, whether people say it or not, whether they're out or not. And so being able to convey that through storytelling and in a funny way, going into little stories about what happens in my life, I think that really relates to people.
We need gay arranged marriage. Imagine a gay arranged marriage, right? A gay arranged marriage would be me and my amma walking around with my horoscope and my nudes.
My parents haven't come to a show yet, but uncles and aunts and people are hearing about it and coming through now. So it's really reaching another generation of people as well. So because of language, there's so many barriers to those things that people might have not been able to communicate in the past. And through comedy, I'm able to do that. So that's really exciting for me.
And you can catch Our Toronto tomorrow with Shannon at noon on CBC television. But that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back here on Monday night. Have a great weekend, everyone.